because it sounds like the children of our nation who have been indoctrinated by the Obama educational systems across America, both directly and indirectly, to believe in falsehoods such as global warming will flood the earth, the white person has white privilege. This is all part of the equivalent of Nazi propaganda that our children have faced, but it's a topic for another day. Today I want to focus again on why we need propaganda of our own to defeat the socialist enemy and to defeat the ISIS enemy, and how there is a very small, if almost non-existent group of conservative intellectuals. And I mean conservative creators, not aggregators. Creators. Nonfiction books I write, but they're not very creative. Some of them are excellent. Some of my books are very well documented, such as Stop the Coming Civil War. But I wouldn't put it on the level of a piece of art. So people have asked me, why do you work so hard? Why'd you kill yourself to write Countdown to Mecca and your other novels? Because I tried as one man to expand the horizon of my reach from radio to nonfiction to fiction. If I had the time, I would make a movie. Where are the conservative poets? Can you name one poet who has a conservative orientation, who loves America, who's been heard on a college campus recently? Can you name one artist whose themes are rather patriotic or nationalistic? They don't exist because the funding is not there for that. And don't confuse hatred with a movement. It takes more than hatred and a sense of false righteous indignation to make for art. All these multimillionaire talk show hosts who are screaming about the little man and how bad the economy is and how the little guy is hurting, dying economy, as they fly around in Gulf Streams and build beachfront mansions on the swamps of hate and deceit. Yes, my friends, I live very well myself. But the fact of the matter is, I'm part of a family. And without going into specific details, a great deal of our wealth is based upon creating products that people actually consume, not on hatred and false righteous indignation. I am so sick and tired of hearing about how bad the economy is by people who are building mansions on beaches and flying around in Gulf Streams and laughing at the world, laughing all the way to their Swiss banks while making believe they're one of you. It gets me nauseous, to be very honest with you. So this is propaganda as well. It's their own propaganda to have you believe that they're one of you. How can they be one of you? They're not leading your life. That's like Obama. You know, we can criticize Obama all we want. He makes believe he's one of the poor blacks in Ferguson to get his way with them. How different is he than the fake conservative talk show hosts who scream about a bad economy and how bad the world is and how everything's dying while they're cashing in like they've never seen in their life, ever? You get what I'm saying? Okay, I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUYCOIN. It is almost the end of the hour. I got through an hour after being in a sick bed for almost a week. I haven't had a drink since last Sunday night, by the way. I never use alcohol when I'm sick, contrary to popular opinion. I only drink when I'm well, never when I'm sick. And I haven't had a cup of coffee until an hour before the show. I think it's a miracle that I came on the air today, and this show is so important to me. It's about why we need propaganda to win against ISIS, why we need propaganda to win against the progressive socialists, and why we are losing on both fronts. And if you've been listening to this hour from the beginning, I think you've not only enjoyed it, but you probably, well, I think you're thinking about things. Let's put it to you that way. And I think thinking is a salvation unto itself in a time where people have forgotten how to think, or they're afraid to think for themselves. Maybe that's what's missing on the conservative side of the ledger, is the inability or the fear to think. You can't let others think for you. You must think for yourself. So, with God's will, I'll be back in the next hour to continue with more World War II anti-Nazi, anti-Japanese propaganda, and, well, so many other things we got for you. You won't believe it.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage. Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of unprotected thought, borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
British professor Hubert Lamb says that a new ice age is creeping over the northern hemisphere. Even then, it won't be as bad as the last ice age 60,000 years ago. Then New York, Cincinnati, St. Louis were under 5,000 feet of ice. Presumably, no traffic moved and school was let out for the day. And that's the way it is. Monday, September 11th, 1972.
Welcome back to the Savage Nation. I'm talking about propaganda today, and back in the 70s, the propaganda was the coming ice age. The propaganda now is the coming hot age. Both are lies. Both are frauds. Both were built on houses of fraudulent science. In the world of politics, the world is not much different. Both sides use lies. However, the progressives are winning because they use lies more effectively. They're better artists, better writers, better creators, and, frankly, they own the studios. Katzenberg, Geffen, how many of them are actively involved in making movies anymore? They're too big to make movies, but they run the show. Nothing happens, in my estimation, unless the Caesars of Hollywood give a thumbs up. It's a thumbs-up operation all the way down the line. And so you never see a movie where an Arab is a villain. You never see a movie where you see what ISIS is doing to Christians, burning churches. When have you last seen a movie showing a church burning, produced by Harvey Weinstein? Never. I haven't seen Weinstein produce a movie showing a church on fire with Christians being killed. When have you last seen a Katzenberg production, if he's still producing movies, where you see young Yazidi girls raped, 8 years of age, raped by Muslims? You haven't seen such a movie. Why not? I don't know why not. These are brilliant men. They're geniuses. Don't they run the world? Aren't they invited into the White House on a regular basis? Don't they rub shoulders with such esteemed American citizens, such as Al Sharpton? And so we're talking today about propaganda and why we need propaganda to win not only against our socialist enemy, but against the ISIS enemy, which is our collective enemy. And I am clear in saying that we have no real group of conservative intellectuals that I know of, and that some of the most brilliant minds of our time are falsely political progressives. Some of them know exactly what they're doing, and they know that they're living a lie, but they don't care. They don't care because they won't work in Hollywood unless they work the party line. They don't care in some cases because they'd rather be invited out to social gatherings than live alone and be in isolation. And then some of them would rather be nice than right. So where are the conservative intellectuals? I don't mean aggregators of news stories. I don't mean people who put together nonfiction books. I've done that. Nothing wrong with it. It's a very hard job to do it right and make people have something they can really read. How many conservatives have written a novel, as I have, in Countdown to Mecca, the third in the trilogy? You can count them on one hand, if that many. How many films have been made which have a conservative orientation? Where is there a conservative poet who has been invited to a university to read her poetry? Nowhere. Where is there a musician playing a patriotic theme? Nowhere. Where is there an artist painting patriotic paintings? Nowhere. You see, it takes more than hatred to make a movement. It takes more than false righteous indignation to have an audience that follows you devoutly. The fact of the matter is we can't build a movement on the swamp of hatred and deceit. And so I come before you today in the show to talk about the fact that we have to malign the enemy to defeat the enemy. Just as was done by this nation in World War II. They were maligning the enemy on a daily basis. They maligned the Japanese. They maligned the Germans. They used naked propaganda. They made them into villains. Now every German couldn't have been a villain. Every Japanese soldier couldn't have been a villain. Many of them are, by the way. If you looked at the behavior of the Japanese soldier, many of them were villains. And if you don't believe me, then research the rape of Nanking and you'll see what the average soldier in Japan was capable of. Before we get off on the high horse of we interned them here in America. That's all I got to hear about. I'm sorry about the internment. I didn't do it. FDR did it, the role model for Obama. Maybe he's planning on an internment here of his enemies under the guise of a war. Who knows? But the fact of the matter is they made them into inhumans or subhumans in their propaganda. The popularity of movie monsters from Dracula and Frankenstein to Mr. Hyde and even the winged monkeys from The Wizard of Oz inspired countless ideations of that, of an inhuman enemy in the Pacific amongst the Japanese. See, in these images that were used by Hollywood at that time and the poster makers, the Japanese villain became a creature to be feared, not just because of the character himself, right? But for its inhumanity as well, right? Even the most inhuman-looking of these creatures still generally sported the propaganda stable of hyperbolic stereotypes. There were depictions of snakes with buck teeth, rats with exaggerated squinting eyes, and lumbering apes with yellow coloring. With our enemy in ISIS, we do not need to make them into subhumans. They are subhumans. What would you call kidnapping young girls and raping them as low as age 8, as young as age 8, because their boss, Muhammad, has it in the Bible that you can have a wife at age 8? Tell me, is there anything more subhuman than that? When have you last heard that coming out of Hollywood? Never. So you have a lot to be scared of with ISIS. They're winning and we're losing. And I'm pretty sure that there are fellow travelers inside the White House who are enabling them. I don't believe that we're losing the war. I think that they're winning the war with our help. And the reason I say that, I'll use very, very simple logic. Last week, after they conquered Ramadi, they had a victory parade in the open of a half-mile long of their Toyota pickup trucks with their machine guns, 1/2 mile at least long. Did Obama take time out to launch one A-10 against them? One airplane could have wiped out the entire column. Remember Bush's Highway of Death? Remember the Highway of Death? Those charred corpses, the burnt-out tanks and half-tracks, the APCs that were burnt to the ground, the gruesome figures of Iraqis burned to a crisp. Remember those pictures? Well, that's how a war is won. Why is this war not being fought? Don't tell me because Obama was afraid of civilian casualties. That would be a lie. The latest propaganda is that the pilots can fly over a target for hours before being given the signal to launch a rocket by one of the girls inside the White House in between having her nails done and having a spa treatment. One of the girls in the sorority says, what is it? What does he want? Give me a couple of hours. I'm having the nails done. Let him fly around a little bit up there. I'll let him know in a while. What does he want? He wants to bomb what? I don't know. Any civilians around now? Quell it off for today. Send them home. Send the geek home. Let him go have a cup of coffee on the aircraft carrier. We'll get back to that target tomorrow. What's on the agenda today? Oh, global warming meeting? Okay. Sorry, we can't do the war right now. All right, it's a bad parody. It's what goes on in my head of what's running this country today. That's my propaganda of what's running America. How far it is from the truth, I don't really know. It may as well be the truth for all I know, because the effects of the results are the same. Whether my parody is real or not doesn't matter. We may as well have a bunch of dithering morons having their nails done running the war as not for the effects. But my point, and you can't miss it, I don't care whether you're a progressive or what you are, what you consider yourself, why didn't Obama order any aircraft to strike that column? Why? It was the most insightful analysis of anyone in the media yet to date on this whole war issue. And there's no defending what Obama didn't do, by the way, none. So we hear that planes are flying around, and the reason the great man himself, the great commander-in-chief Obama, who has never fired a Daisy BB gun so far as I can tell, the great commander-in-chief Barack Big Mouth Obama, Barack Obama doesn't want the airplanes to strike for fear of collateral damage.